welcome today in Woburn. I'm your host, Samantha Stone, and we have the continuation of our election series. I'm really excited to meet Kevin Meaney, who is running for City Councilor of Ward One, and get to know him and all about his campaign. Welcome, Kevin.
Well, thank you. Thanks for having me, Samantha. I really appreciate it.
Behind you on the screen. There is a saying, and it's
Yes.
totally got my attention. Can you read it and tell me what it says?
Yeah.
I can't
Yeah.
quite
Well,
make it out.
it's from. I can't take any credit. My wife is the one that put it on the wall, but it's from one of her favorite movies, Ferris Bueller, and it's life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop and look around once in a while, you could just miss it.
Ferris Bueller is one of the few movies that I can watch over and over and
Yeah.
over again. So, two thumbs up to your wife. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, thanks. I'll let her know.
Yeah, that's really great. So, Kevin, why do you want to do this like tireless, thankless job of city council? Talk to
I
me about what's motivating you.
I know. Some people think I should have my head examined, but you know what? I just, it's always been something of a goal of mine. I grew up with it. My dad was a city councilor for a long time. Um, and he kind of instilled in me that the public service is a way of giving back to the community where you live. If you get something to say, if you don't want to get involved, you shouldn't say anything. So that's kind of how we grew up. And um, I've I've been involved throughout. I've been on the Conservation Commission now 8 years, and I feel like I can give a little more. And honestly, Samantha, I look at it as a city councilor as more than just somebody that goes to meetings, somebody that votes on a few things, yes or no, and goes home. I really think it's looked at. And my belief is the way I look at them is the leaders of the community, and it's not just going to meetings; it's being available, being looked up to, and looked at for answers and for help. Um, and I be honest, I just haven't seen that for the past 6 years. So it's always been a concern of mine. I just think there should be more involvement, whether at local events. There should be a presence, and so that's something I'm kind of looking forward to do, as well as getting into the all the other stuff that goes on.
Well, I love seeing accessible local representatives.
Mhm.
We're very fortunate to live in Woburn where we do have the opportunity to do that. And I always puts a smile on my face when folks participate. So thanks for sharing that. Let's talk a little bit about your service, right? So tell us a little bit about your qualifications for city council. You mentioned, I think the historic
Yeah.
commission. Is that what you had mentioned? No,
I'm
conservation. It was
I'm
conservation, right?
I am, but I'm also, you've done your homework, because I'm also a member of the Historical District Commission. So I've been involved in that. I started that a long time ago. We haven't had meetings in a while, but I worked with a great crew there for a while. And then I was fortunate enough to be appointed by Mayor Galvin to the Conservation Commission. And that was in 2014. And I've enjoyed my time there. We've had a lot of good projects come through. I've learned so much about natural resources and borderline vegetation and things that I didn't ever think I would know, and what's invasive species and what isn't. And I've learned a lot, and it's been a great experience for me, knowledge wise, and also to get to know the community as well, because we deal with all different projects that come in. So I've been able to stay active in meetings, with meeting other people, and kind of got used to how Robert's rules work and different things. I'm also, in addition to being a graduate of Woburn High, I'm also went to Plymouth State College and get my degree in public management. So I do have some education on that end. And my current role, I am currently employed as the Chief Probation Officer in Framingham and Native Court. So being a chief, I'm in charge of the probation department. In addition to helping out the 8 surrounding towns that we represent, it's a staff of mine that I'm the leader. I got to make some of the decisions. I also work with some of the other departments to have the courthouse running that it is. So I feel like all that experience has got me to this point, and I feel like I'm kind of ready to take on another challenge.
I love it. I want to talk about the Conservation Commission for a minute, because one of the things that I imagine, and I don't like to make things up, so tell me where I'm right or wrong. is that there has sometimes been a conflict between what maybe we want to do from a conservation standpoint and a project that's coming on
Mhm,
board or where a building needs to go.
mhm.
How do you kind of manage through that potential conflict and help find common ground that we can agree on?
Yeah, so that's a great question. And we actually recently had, it's a great example is the way we were able to work together and collaborate with the developers as well as listening to the public. The project that we just had come through was the jelly, the Atlantic jelly, the site over there. We had plans in front of us. And obviously there were concerns from the surrounding neighborhoods about impact and wildlife and we had all these, and it was great discussions that we had. Did they get hot sometimes? Yep, they certainly did. But we were able to kind of listen. We had the developers listen, and they heard the concerns of the people of the city, and they took it into account, and we were able to work it out to a point where I think everybody was pretty much satisfied. I mean, personally, for me, I'm excited about that project and what we were able to do. They're going to bring back the brook that goes through there now. That probably hasn't seen the light of day in 100 years. And we're going to be able to clean up that site and really do some good work over there. And I think it was a credit to not only the conservation in our way, but also to the developers, because they really did step up and they listened, and the public was so involved, and we came to middle ground. So that's something where, I hope that answers the question, but that was something that we just had, and I thought it was great. It was a good way to, we came up with some really good ideas.
That exactly answers the question. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. We're big history buffs in my family. I should say I'm a tag along history buff. My husband is the expert. He's actually a Civil War reenactor and loves all things history. Tell us a little bit about your interest in the history and what attracted you to the Historic Commission.
Well, I have always been I don't want to call myself a fanatic, but I've always had a great love of all things history, specifically for Woburn. I've always been fascinated with the Revolution and how things started, the story of Laomi Baldwin and Benjamin Thompson and their dynamics, best friends walking to Harvard, yet one's I don't want to call him a traitor because we were still part of England. He was a Tory, and the other one that was part of the Revolution, and yet they maintained their friendship and that relationship. And kind of what ifs could have happened. I mean, we were about 6 minutes late, Woburn. We had 220 guys heading to Lexington Common. We just missed them by 6 minutes. So I'm always like, what could have changed, But I've always liked that involvement. I've always been proud of the fact that, Woburn's been throughout history. It always seems to pop up, anywhere from Charles Goodyear to, to some of the other people that's come through. So it's always been one of my little passions.
I love it. That's really great. Let's talk specifically about Ward One. So every ward has tremendous opportunities in our city. We're really fortunate, and every ward has challenges. Tell us a little bit about some of the things that you hope to address if you're elected.
Yeah. So some of the challenges I see in being elected specifically with Ward One, I ran 6 years ago. I was unsuccessful. But I did some of the issues that I did bring up was obviously the traffic that I felt was a major issue was over on Cambridge Road, South Bedford. I know it's a state road, but it was an issue back then. And I feel it's even more so now with the development of with the townhouses now just on the end of Willow Street and Locust Street there in that area. You're going to have increased traffic coming out there. So what I'd like to see done is work with the state, see if we can get a traffic study. I'd really like to see a left turn signal at the end of South Bedford in Cambridge Road. I think would alleviate some traffic. Because as you know now, I'm not sure, Samantha, but I'm sure you're familiar with it, but we tend to make our own left lane. I come home from work that way. So I'll take that exit on Route 3 and you come down to that light and we all just kind of go to the left a little bit, sneak over, and then you put your left lane.
I'm guilty.
Well, we all do it, and you try to run the light just as it goes green, so you can cut the traffic off. It's not the right way to do it, but we all do it. And if you're not from in town, you don't know how to do that. And I think a lot of people tend to back up, and I think we could all benefit from a study and get some results done over there. So that's one of my issues in Ward One. Obviously, the big one we have here is Horn Pond. It's in our ward. It is, clearly the crown jewel of the city, I'd like to call it. And it's our biggest natural resource. And with some of the things I've learned in conservation, and as well just living here and listening to people, is it needs to be protected. We do a great job now. I think, we had a little cleanup. I met Rachel, this 8-year-old girl, this weekend, who put together a little cleanup. And her parents are down there, and I get to meet them and her friends. And I thought it was great, but we went around and we're actually was in pretty good shape. I mean, it wasn't a lot of trash. And there's a crew of guys that get up in the morning, Saturdays, and they tend to go about and volunteer to pick things up. So that's a good thing. And I want to see that continue. But I think we need to really look to the future and make sure that this resource is protected. And some of the things I'd like to see oversee is construction of a fish brook. I mean, a fish ladder, a proper fish ladder, one that's not so that, now we have the herring coming back, which I'm sure your husband would be glad to know that it's the first time the herring have come this far since the Civil War. So,
oh, wow, I did not
yeah,
know that.
so the Mystics in the 1860s, they put the dams in the Mystic, and the herring weren't able to come back up. And they put a fish ladder in. They were able to come all the way up to Horn Pond, and they kind of make it into the right side, the little spillover, but it's not the right way to do it. So I'm really like to get involved in the development, and I believe there is one in the works. So I'd like to oversee that. I think that would be so beneficial to the ecosystem, as well as general, just overall health of the pond itself. And the other is I'd like to see implemented or constructed is a rain garden. And again, I believe the plans are being talked about and thrown about, but the rain garden I'd like to see is on the south end of the pond by the parking lot, the pumping station. And what a rain garden would do is it would be a buffer between the parking lot and the pond itself, the water. And what we have now, and again, my conservation expertise is we have a lot of runoff from the parking lot that goes untreated. And all that water and sediment and oil and whatever we have that's in the parking lot goes into our water. So we want to have that rain garden. It would act as a filter for that and treat the water as it percolates back into the pond. So these are things that I'd love to get involved with, specifically for the ward.
I love it. I have a lake house in New Hampshire. That's our second home. And we are up on a very, very steep hill.
Yeah.
And we put a new patio. We made some reconfiguration, but we had to take very special care for building a trench and rocks and things so that the runoff from the house and the patio wasn't, going into.
Yeah, it just filters in. We're up in New Hampshire.
It's a very small lake called Pine River Pond in Wakefield. Yeah.
Wakefield. We just, my wife's family has a place in Ossipee, so I'm familiar.
Oh, you're right next door.
Yep, we go right up. So
if we just keep going, I shop in Ossipee all the time. So we're very lucky. It's a wonderful little getaway, and then I come home to my home in Woburn, and it's perfect.
Great.
So
it's great. Now's the best time of year, I think. I like the foliage. So.
Yeah, I love the foliage, but I'm not giving up my summer either. I love it. Horn Pond is a very special place for us. I really do. I feel very fortunate that we have this magical thing in our community, and being good stewards of it's important. Let's talk about overall growth in the city. So clearly, as a city councilor, you're responsible for the ward that you represent, but city councilors also have much broader set of responsibilities in terms of overall city budget and stewardship and approving building projects and things. What are some of the things that you'll be thinking about as you're thinking about balancing growth with sort of quality of life and integrity of the city?
Yeah, so some things that I've been concerned about is, as you know, I've always considered Woburn a special place. I grew up here. My parents grew up here. My wife's parents, they probably go back 4 or 5 generations. And I think that makes it special. And I think it's the reason for that is we've always been able to keep Woburn affordable. and we're able to have our kids able to afford to stay here. And the concern I've been seeing lately is the development of I don't want to say overdevelopment, but increased development of a lot of these residential and townhomes in different areas. It's concerning to me. I don't want to lose that our identity that makes us so special. So some of the things, that I've seen that it caused me concern is the obviously the skyrocketing prices of real estate, but also the way now that we see developers, they buy a piece of property and knocking it down, and then up goes a 2-family, a cookie cutter that you see all the way go down the street. So how do we fix it? I'm not sure if I have all the answers. I did toss about ideas of maybe increasing lots, going to the zoning and see if we're able to increase a buildable lot, kind of slow down the growth. Maybe there's some incentives we can put in place too to have people kind of stay in their homes and not sell out and have to build a 2-family. So those are some things as far as keeping that special neighborhood, small town feeling. I think we could look at. The other is I'm okay with development if it's done right and policed, like what we see at the mall. We see a lot of those going up now, and while I think business is good, I'm all for business in the city. It helps keep our taxes the way they are. It needs to be done right, and we want to make sure that we don't get in a point where we overdevelop ourselves and we push ourselves right out of that good hometown that we all come to know and love.
You mentioned businesses, so let's talk about that. As a city councilor, you clearly represent the residents in your ward, but also you have businesses in your ward and across the city. What are some of your business priorities?
Well, some of them, my business experience goes back with my dad. My dad was also, in addition to being a counselor, he was executive director of Woburn business. So I used to tend to go to a lot of the parties. They were always, they were always fun. It was free food. So I used to go with them, and I was always a fan. But I got to kind of know how that it's important for a city like Woburn to have a relationship with these businesses, because they are important to our livelihood. They are our income, and we need to work with them and kind of keep them going along and prosper the growth as trying to maintain the best we could of our city. So it's important to me to be that type of liaison with the businesses and create and keep that relationship going. I feel I could do that with the council. Also, one of my priorities, and I would look to and get involved is with the downtown. With Woburn Center. I had an apartment years before I got married in downtown and right in the city. I worked in Woburn Court, so I used to be able to walk from there to the courthouse. Back then, and I'm not talking that long ago, about 20 years ago, but there was one restaurant, and that was the only place I could go unless I wanted pizza or a haircut. And now that I don't need the haircut anymore, but there's so many good restaurants down there now. So we've made such good progress. I want to see that continue to thrive. And I'd like to get to the point where, Woburn Center becomes a destination. It used to be the destination back when my parents grew up. Everybody went to Woburn Center because that's where, that's where you get your groceries. That's where you got the butcher. That's where you get your haircut, which seemed like we're trending that direction. But I still see a lot of area we can improve on, because there's some empty stores. Parking's always an issue, but I'd love to see that come back. And so I think if we can work with the downtown, get some incentives for some businesses to come back, I think would be terrific. So that's something I really is near and dear to me.
Well, I love all things food, so anything that involves restaurants, I'm a big fan of. When you look at around the city government that we do have today, who is someone that you admire and hope to sort of learn from and maybe model off of in some ways?
As far as around local,
yeah.
I mean, I would say one of the people I admire is I hold in high regard is the current mayor. I think Mayor Galvin has done such a terrific job. Going through the years, he's always been, he's like a fiscal bulldog. He's really tough, but yet he's outgoing and he's caring and he cares about the city. So that he's one guy that I kind of look to I kind of like to be use him as a role model to kind of go up against. I think he's done a great job with the pandemic. I mean, we are fortunate than most towns that were kind of able to survive it both fiscally. And he's done a great job, I think, with the numbers that you see with the COVID, the numbers reflected. I think we're in a good shape. And I mean, we're in unprecedented times, and for us to get through that was pretty amazing. Some other people I know, I always, when I listen to the council meetings, Alderman 5, Mercer Bruin, Darlene is one of my favorites because she is so staunch and passionate, and she's always right there, right on, for her constituents, and she cares about it, the city too. So she's someone that I always look up to, and I enjoy listening to her on the council. So those are the people, and if I have to throw in any, current state rep Haggerty, Rich Haggerty is, I know he's not my ward state representative, unfortunately, but he is a guy again that really he's at every event. He cares about the city. He, I see that in the way his speeches and the way he conducts himself, and he's really a role model too that I really look up to. So
awesome, thanks for sharing that. You talked about sort of surviving and the pandemic and as a city and doing lots of the right things. We did roll out, as is for city employees, a vaccinate and test policy. Is that something that you would have supported? Anything additional you think we should have been doing?
I know this is kind of like that a political football has been kind of going back and forth among towns, among states and different things. And I think it's a tough situation to navigate. However, I think it's one that was necessary, especially when you're dealing with people in the public. Working in the trial court, we had a similar mandate come through, though not so much was mandatory, vaccination. It was, your life will be a lot easier if you get a vaccination. If you don't, that's okay, but you got to give us a test. And every time you don't have a test to show us, you go unpaid for work. So that was something that I'm like, okay, well,
that's an incentive.
That's an incentive. But I think it's probably in this situation. And again, it's unprecedented, but I feel it's necessary, especially when you're in the area of dealing with the public, and so many people come in and out. I feel like it was necessary. So I was for it. And again, like I said, I think they've done a great job with not only the access to vaccines, but also to the testing that's on a weekly basis. And really that's a credit to the council and to the mayor's office and to the Board of Health. I think they've done a great job. I go on the website and it's so easy to navigate. You just click on there, and I got on there and there was no problems. They're in and out.
The nurses in our community have done incredible things this last year and a half. I don't think we could ever really fully appreciate the sacrifice they've made. And
no, I don't think they get enough credit, and for them to be on the front lines of this from day one is truly amazing. And when it first started, we didn't know what we were dealing with. I mean, we're all the whole world shut down, and but the nurses didn't, and the police officers and those frontline workers deserve a ton of credit. They're heroes in my mind.
I love it. They are. They definitely are, for sure. I also think that all the parents who last year had remote schooling and they had young kids. My husband and I were high-fiving. Thank God we had kids young. I don't think I could have done it. We were so grateful. I mean, really, I just, everyone has had to have sacrifices and changes in their lives, but it's incredible what
it was crazy
having to adapt and all of that. So I want to talk about events for a minute, because I think you've mentioned a few times a really important observation, which is one of the things that you admire about people in local government is their accessibility and them getting out in the community and going to events. Talk about a couple of things that you've really enjoyed now that we're starting to be able to get back and do some of the things that were put on hold for a while there. Yeah,
well, some of the things I've always felt are always those the local events, like Flag Day. It's the community gets together and you're able to, see friends you haven't seen in a while and hang out, and you're in an informal setting and you get to run into your councilman or the mayor. You see those people in informal, but they're there and they're representing, and their presence is always appreciated. So I always look forward to those events. My favorite is coming up, the Halloween parade, Lions Club Halloween. My dad was a Lions Club member for years, and he always had the little bucket, so we always had to make sure we were putting stuff in. And these last few years, my kids, I've been involved with doing the float for St. Charles, and so it's sad. It's a little bit bittersweet this year. My youngest is in 8th grade, so this will be her last float. So we always enjoy it.
That's a big milestone. It is. Well, at least we're having the parade so you can enjoy it this year.
It is, and it's perfect because it's on Halloween. So now you get to dress, you can stay in costume all day and not look like you're crazy.
I'm so excited for the first time I went to the Halloween parade. It was completely by mistake. Neither my husband or I were born or raised in Woburn, so we didn't know about it. And we took our, at the time, infant just for a walk. For a walk downtown. And we all of a sudden, like, what is going on? There's like this parade, and it had started to snow out. And of course, I have a diaper bag, but no, unprepared to be sitting outside for any extensive time. So my poor baby, I had socks in the diaper bag, and I put them on their hands to keep them warm so we could enjoy it. So that's my first Halloween parade.
Yeah. And they're always great too, because so many people come through, and it's unique to Woburn. Like Flag Day is too. Not a lot of towns around have Flag Day. So I find those always special events. And the Halloween parade is always one. I'm so glad it's back, and they're looking to keep it going, which is great. So I'm looking forward to that. I also look forward to like the Conservation Day. Unfortunately, we didn't have it this year. But that's always like planning that and getting people out and working, helping out. It's easy work. People love to do it. And then we all have hot dogs and Coke afterwards. So it's always fun. Those are the small ones I look forward to all the time.
I love it. Well, we are almost out of time, and I really, I'm so excited that we've had this conversation. For those folks who might want to learn more about your campaign and stay in touch with you as we lead up to Election Day, where's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
Yeah, well, thank you for saying that. I'm glad I got my glasses on so I can see it. But it's been such a blast. These last 2 weeks have been flying by, and it's been such great support I see out there. And we do have an email address. It's Kevin Meaney for Ward One at Gmail. I'd be happy to answer any questions people have. We also have a Facebook page, so you can like us. I guess that's the term, like us or see us at Vote for Kevin Meaney, Alderman Ward One. And there's also, I tend to like a little better the old fashioned way. Just call me. It's number 781-858-3782. I'm going to be around in the neighborhoods. I've been around. I've been walking for the last few weeks now, and you'll see me around. So just stop and shout. We're actually going to be out probably this weekend too, holding signs and waving hands. So anybody's more than happy to stop, and questions. I enjoy it. So
Excellent.
Hopefully it's good weather.
Kevin, thank you so much for your time today and for helping us to get to know you and your candidacy. And Woburn, as always, please continue to take good care of each other.